We start right here in the United States. There was a final whistle on hate game played last night between Chelsea and the New England Revolution, a match to aid a very good cause. However, it proved to be the final whistle on the season and perhaps the start of next season for Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who managed to rupture an Achilles tendon after coming on as a substitute on the turf surface. Let's bring Gab Marcotti in first. Freshly laid grass surface played over the top of AstroTurf. I imagine the reaction in England hasn't been too positive to this development, Gab.
I mean, certainly it hasn't. And look, Sadi had said as well that, you know, you could have done without this trip to go and prepare properly for the Europa League final. Then again, you weigh that over the reason why they were there. This is something that Chelsea, or a minority of Chelsea fans, have had a serious issue with in the past and historically, going back to the 70s. The club wanted to make a statement about this, about inclusion, about fighting extremism and types of hatred, and they raised $4 million along the way in doing it. So this is something that really was important, I think, to that side of the club. Football-wise, you feel terrible for Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who's had a whole bunch of injuries. More specifically, Europa League-wise, it's obviously a loss, but it's not as if this is N'Golo Kante or Eden Hazard. They have other people who can play that position, like Barkley and Kovacic. I don't think you necessarily blow this up into something bigger than it really is. It's a really unlucky young man who could have just as easily gotten injured in training.
Coming off the back of the Callum Hudson-Odoi injury too, Paul. You were there, actually calling the game for radio.
Yep.
Well-intentioned, as Gab says, but the timing? That's the big question on this from a Chelsea perspective.
Well, the problem is with the busy schedule with both clubs. I mean, it's difficult to find a slot to put it in. This was probably the best slot. Chelsea come over on charter, they straight out back to London after the game. It was
a 4-day trip for them, though.
Yeah,
all things told.
Yes, it was a very serious trip for the vast majority of the group. And if you witnessed the game, if you watched the game, you could see the way that Chelsea went about it. It was super professional. Hazard played the first half. He was absolutely terrific. Some wonderful top athletes on view for the local Chelsea fans to view, and they really got into it. 27,000 plus. Look, when you see a player going down, Hudson-Odoi, when Hudson-Odoi went down at Stamford Bridge with his Achilles injury, there's nobody around him. Yes, Diego Fagundes was around Loftus-Cheek, but I don't think there's any contact. I really don't. It's just one of those things.
Do you think the surface played into this injury? Because they laid grass over turf, didn't they?
Look, when I was coaching at the Revolution, there would be international games that they'd lay the field down, and no matter how long it takes to lay the field down, it's never what you want it to be. Going back to my original statement, Chelsea came out with very, very professional. They played the ball, they got it down, they played it around. So I'm not going to blame the field. I just think it was one of those freak accidents.
It's a tough one, isn't it, Ali?
Yeah. Well, look, it's a worthy cause, and I think we can all agree on that. But it's also very clear that the timing for Chelsea, and never mind the New England Revolution, but for Chelsea is less than ideal when you have preparation to come for what it's going to be a significant time of the year for you, where you can get a trophy, where you can make a season into a more successful one than it has been up until this point. And so from the manager's perspective and from the player's perspective, it is less than ideal to have to take this trip. As a learning experience, as gratifying as it might have been because of the opportunities that they had while they were here and the visits that they had and the presentations that they had, all those things are worthy causes. But they can be done after the season is over. They can be done after you have played Europa League final. And I know, because people are going to throw it out and say, well, you can't do anything about the scheduling because you have to plan it ahead of time. Well, then plan it ahead of time so that you give yourself enough of a window to say, you know what, hey, guys, we got to stick around after a week after we're done because we have this game. And that's it. And then you play with that. I think you can do both things. You can have a worthy cause, and you can also take care of your priority that it's also having results out on the field.
Yeah.
You can balance those things out. You do it correctly, this sort of things may not happen.
Chelsea obviously didn't know they were going to be in the Europa League final.
No,
but they scheduled this.
But Ali's absolutely right. But there's every possibility. You know that they're in that competition. You know they're a very good side.
Right.
You know they could get to the one. Ali's absolutely right. But my thoughts are with Loftus-Cheek because
Is it a big deal?
Hudson and Odoi.
Gab was downplaying it, saying, Chelsea
I don't care what Gab says about the team. I'm talking about the player himself.
Right.
Loftus-Cheek has been out on loan to several places. He's been playing for England at times. He's struggled to get in the Chelsea team. At last, Sarri has decided that he's going to give him a chance. He's played well for several weeks. We had Hudson-Odoi doing the same down the right-hand side when he got into the side. And both those players, having got into the team with the demand of the fans almost, and now got long-term injuries. And that's bad for their career, bad for England, and I think over a long period, bad for Chelsea as well.
I also think it's very simplistic to just say, well, this could have happened in training. Well, yes, but then I can also make arguments that when you put the body through an extra trip here and there and standing around and seeing presentations and coming here and coming there, now you're exposing the body to something that it's regularly not exposed to. And so therefore, maybe I can also make the argument without being a doctor, but having been a player, that you want to be at the top of your physical ability. Doing extra things that are usually not within the scope of your daily activities, those things strain your body and eventually the body breaks down.